Welcome home. Welcome home to your creative soul, to the paint on your fingers, to the paintbrushes in your hands, to the new journals or the old journals, the handmade journals. Welcome to the writer in you, to the artist in you. Welcome here and welcome to my soul and to this creative video. Summer here in England. There's birds singing every morning, they wake me up. Flowers. In England, there's a kind of dimming of the brightness of spring, and there's this kind of midway pause between the delicate flowers that arrive in spring and this kind of bloom of flowers that arrive in summer. There's sort of a pause between the two. And for me, that reflects a pause that I've had creatively, and it's great to be back. I've been away running retreats and classes and all sorts of things, and now I'm back. Hooray! And able to put together some creative flow for you guys. So let me show you what this video is all about. So I've got me a brand new journal. It's a very square journal. I saw a square journal and I just fancied it working in a slightly different format. I'm so used to working loosely in pieces of paper, then binding them all together. I treated myself, and it's got 1,000,000 pages in it, of which I am going to gut quite a few out. And there's a reason I'm going to gut them out. You know, I like to add things and doodle on things and glue in things and add thread and everything else. And having a journal that is so tightly bound as this is just not going to work for me. So I'm going to rip a few pages out and gut that. I'll do that off camera. But today is all about being inspired by the elements. And on our Facebook community, which you're more than welcome to join, Mixed Media and Beyond community, June has been about elements and the elementals, and in particular earth, fire, air, water. Those very four Native Americans, shamanic, lots and lots of cultures explore those four elements as something really important to have in your world and have in your life. And so we're going to make a deck of inspiration cards. It's a game, so to speak, to help us do some creativity. And let me tell you, it's not just about all of the painting and getting messy. So let me show you what I've got. I've created this game. There's a printout available, by the way, on the Facebook community, so head there, the link's in the description, and you can grab the printout either from the file section, or if you go to the pinned section, if you're currently watching this live in June 2026, then they're there. So on this little deck, which is the square deck of cards, I've got the words write, listen, discover, and create it. And, you know, those can mean whatever you want them to mean, but for me, what they mean is create it, is just kind of get stuck in, get arting, get playing. You're going to be inspired by a word that's on this deck or a sentence on this deck. So create it means just to kind of have a blast and a play. Write it literally means that. Get your pen out, get some writing done, and, you know, be artistic with your writing. What can you do that isn't just bog standard writing? Listen is very much using our ears. What can we listen to? What can we go out there and find, and how will that inspire a piece of creativity? And the next word is discover. So doing a bit of learning, going and doing a bit of research. What can you find out there in the world to discover? So they are those cards. And then here is the other deck, which is lots of different words that mean whatever they're going to mean to you. And again, you can use your own words, or you can go and download this. So this is the pink deck is my air deck. So I've got clouded clarity, for instance, consistence. The red ones are all to do with fire. So we've got here the centre of it all, scorching touch points. Then we have blue. Guess what blue is? You're right, it's water. The sweetness of rain. the final crescendo of a waterfall. And then we've got these sort of dark green mossy colours, and that is earth. And these decks of cards are to be played in unison. So I would shuffle them up, for instance, and I would pick one out of here and one out of here, turn them over. So I would listen. Let's show you these. I would listen to something that represents consistence. So that might be a podcast, it might be a piece of music. I would listen to that, and I might create a piece of art, or I might just write something about it, or I might even just stick a piece of music in here, goodness knows what. But it's about allowing yourself to have a little bit of freedom and a little bit of play. Now, when I was creating this deck of cards, and I've done a tutorial for you, which is at the back end of this video, I really wanted them to be something yummy to look at. So they're not just painted on card. We've got lots of texture on the back, gold edges all the way round, all the colouring, all the yummy layers that you can expect from me. You know what I'm like. Paint it, cover it up, paint it, cover it up. That's what we're going to do. Anyway, over to you guys. I'm going to put the video on, have a watch, have a see, and I would love to know that you've created a set of cards. Head on over to the Facebook group, and I will be putting up a few more videos this month to show what I do with my cards. All right, see you soon.
Okay, let's begin. First of all, you need the download from the Facebook community, and this has all the titles you're going to need. I'm going to start off this project with two pieces of media paper, not watercolor, just media paper, that I have crunched up some brown packaging paper and glued that to the back just using gel matte medium. And it's really important that you scrunch that brown paper up first a few times before you glue it down, so that you get texture on the back of it. Trim that all down, and I've got two pieces here. Now, you all know me with measurements. I very rarely measure anything. These two pieces here are about 18 centimeters by 13 centimeters, but watch the whole video and you'll be able to work it out, I promise. So I'm just going to use some Distress Oxide on the back of these just to pick out all of that texture. If you don't have Distress Oxide, you could use chalk at this stage, you could use watercolour paint at this stage, anything to just give it a bit of texture. But personally, I really love Distress Oxide, that kind of chalky matte finish that it can give. And I'm going to do the back of all of my cards, including the other deck. So we're currently constructing the deck that has the Discover, Create It, Listen to It set of cards. So I'm just using the Distress Oxide on these. I wanted the two decks to have a different back to them, and that's why you're going to see these two different things, but hopefully it'll make sense when it all works out. So Distress Oxide first, all over it, and then I've got a couple of acrylic inks that I use. This one is by Ecoline, and it is their gold, and I put a few splodges of that on it. And then you're going to see me rub that into the back of these cards. Don't forget that underneath that is plain white at the moment. We're going to be adding things to that in a minute. So I start off with the gold, and then to this particular back I'm going to add a rusty red to the back of these as well. Water it down a little bit so that that ink just flows around nicely. And I pat it out first using a sponge stick. You could just use, I don't know, a washing up sponge if you don't have one of these. And then I use a piece of tissue paper just to soften it all out. It's quite blodgy at that point, and you'll see when I put the two next to each other at the end, just using a piece of tissue paper to gently soften those edges down really just makes that difference. It's these little techniques, I think, that sometimes make the difference. As I said, I really wanted these cards to look like something quite precious and special, and that's why we're using all these techniques to really bring out the texture. Now, specifically, I wanted the backs of these decks of cards to look leathery, and that's what I'm going for. And in the end, we also use oil pastels on the back of these, but let's stay where we're at right now. So you can see here the layers and layers that have gone on there. So that's all of those Distress Oxide. Those two inks right next to each other have produced this really lovely shine to the back of that textured paper. And I'm going to do exactly the same with these other two bigger bits of paper, which will be cut out to form all of the deck of cards, the actual element cards. Now, measurement wise, you have, I think, 16 of the titles, which are listen to it, create it, decorate it. I can't remember what they are now. You've got 16 of those titles for one deck of cards, and then each element has 8 cards in it. So that's 8, 16, 32. So clearly you need two slightly bigger bits of paper to make the element cards, and you need a smaller pieces of paper to do the cards that are about listen to it, write it, create it, etc. But both backings exactly the same. So brown paper crunched up, glued down, let to dry. Distress Oxide on the back, or chalk or watercolor if that's all you've got. And then I'm using two different inks. On the first one it was the gold and that rusty red. This one it's a blue and the gold, just to kind of give this mottled leathery look. And I'm just going over the top of this one with a Distress Oxide again, just picking out those red ridges. It's really lovely to use crinkled brown paper because it can give you such a lovely texture. And then finally, what I'm going to do to all of these bits of paper that I've just created is I'm going to water down, not too much water, some gel matte medium, and I will be putting that all the way over the top and letting that dry until it is absolutely leather dry. So these have had a few hours in the sunshine to dry, and we're going to add the next bit. So as I said, they had the gel matte medium over the top of them just to create a division between the underlayers and the top. And now I'm going to use some oil pastels. Now these are by Sennelier. I can't tell you how much I recommend, even if you only buy 2 of these, you buy a couple of the magnetic ones, not magnetic, metallic ones. They are absolutely gorgeous to use, and the thing that happens is that when you soften oil pastels out on top of paper, you get this oily sheen which when it dries remains flexible, and so it really is a bit like kind of suede leather. If you don't have any oil pastels at all, please don't worry. Just get a little tiny bit of olive oil and smooch it all over the back of these pieces, and the same thing will happen. You'll get this really soft, leathery feel, and it's absolutely delicious to touch. So these are these two brownie ones, which I've used gold and copper on. They will be the cards that are the deck with just the 4 different discover, write, those things. And then the blue ones that you can see underneath, I use a gold oil pastel, I believe, and a blue one, I think, but you'll see those when I come. So literally just scribbling over the top and then using a piece of tissue paper just to mush it all in. Years ago, we used to use baby wipes to smear away at our oil pastels. However, I think the time has come for us all to understand not to use so much throwaway plasticky waste, and those baby wipes weren't really great for the planet, were they? So yeah, so these are these 2 backs. I'm smooching in these oil pastels, and then we're going to get to painting them. And by what I mean is painting the white bit that's underneath. I just want to pause and just see there the kind of textures that we've got going on the back here. Again, as I said, I really wanted to make these rich, something that when I sit down to art myself a project, I want to know I'm doing it with something beautiful. So here's these pieces of paper, and I am actually going to measure them for you because the measurements I said earlier on were all wrong. They are 31 centimetres wide, and I believe by just under 15. So 31 centimetres long, 15 wide, and the brown ones are about 31 centimetres wide and about 12 centimetres. And I trim mine down even more later on, but this is roughly what you need just to get things sorted. So we're going to now play thinking about our 4 elements. So I want you to think about some colours that you would associate with the 4 elements. This one I'm doing now with the peach, this is going to be my air element. So it's all light colours, light blues, light pinks. I use a watercolour crayon on every single one of my elements cut first as my base layer, and then whatever I can grab to hand that is the colours that I want. And I will do exactly the same on the 4 creative instructions cards as well. So you can see here just using that, and again at the end of all of these, once I've got the paint laying down as I want it to, I'm going to get a tissue and spuff it all out. So I'm going to leave you watching what colours I come up with, see if you can work out which one is for which element, and I'll join you once they're all painted. So as per Ordinary, this is just the first layer. As per Jolene Ordinary, this is just the first layer. And of course, we're going to add more interest to it. And I also wanted to say to you, there's something really delightful about being able to do a project like this where you're going to cut things up much smaller, because sometimes en masse these things look a bit ugly, but once you break them down, you start to see all of those little tiny moments of mark making and intuitive paint going on there, and it just is really yummy. Having said all that, once I'd painted these two pieces, which are the ones that represent my 4 creative directions, they were ugly as hell. They dried and they were still not great. So we can rescue with layers. So I cover these with some turquoise little dots, and then later on, once they're dried, I add some of my pink pen, and I add some white pen, and I add some purple pen, and in the end they are absolutely what I needed them to be. So each different card now gets a bit of pen treatment. So the earth one, I end up using a green pen and I just make some scribbles and some lines all over there. And this, again, this represents earth. And then the pinkier one that represents air, I end up, I think I had some blue pen to start off with, and it kind of wasn't enough for me. So I went back and used a paint that I actually used on the water one as well, which is this really yummy iridescent blue. And I just create some marks on there with paint again. It's lovely, really shiny. The blue one representing water. I add some blue ink on there and I water it right down and then move it all around, and it adds this kind of swishy swashy one. And the fire, whoa, the fire. I get out my lovely gold pen that you all know I love and adore. And by the way, it will be making an entrance later on as well. That's the Deco colour in gold. Americans, you're very lucky. You can buy this very reasonably in America. Over here, well, you can tend to get it off me when I'm on retreat, but it's not easy to get hold of in the UK. So anyway, I paint those all up. Now, I need to give you all a word of warning, because when I came to edit this video and do the voiceovers and do all the editing, and I sat here through, an hour and a half of editing it, I realised I didn't video the section where I cut everything up. So you're just going to have to take my word for it that it's easy. But essentially, once you've done all the mark making and once you've got all that together, what you're going to need to do then is you're going to need to go away and print off the download that's got all of the titles on it, and then start sticking them onto your paper. Now, personally, I divided my paper up first so that I had enough pieces for one deck and enough pieces for the other. You can see them here now. And then I stuck my words on, and then I started trimming them down. Now, these ones as well, I wanted you to see a deck fully done, have also been treated with the gold pen around the edges and also some Distress Oxide around the outside. And I want to show you how to use Distress Oxide properly to give it a kind of shadowy feel. These are that deck that I didn't like the background. They looked all right in the end, didn't they? So when you're using Distress Oxide, I see time and time again lots of people putting their piece of paper down on another piece of paper and then kind of pressing all the way around it. I want you to try something different, because I want you to have a really nice soft shadow. So lift your piece up and then you brush away from the edge that you're trying to shadow up. I'm going to use black soot on this one. Again, if you don't have Distress Oxide, grab a charcoal pencil, go around the outside with that and just use your finger to soften it up. That will be just as lovely. And if you don't have either of those, you know what? Grab a little bit of black paint on your fingers, make it dry point on your fingers, and then brush that around the outside. But give these a bit of shadow because they do need it. And then the final touch that I'm going to use on these is I'm going to get my lovely Deco Colour Gold pen, and I'm going to be using it as the chisel point up against the actual edge of the paper. Lots of people don't realise that any paper, whatever size it is, it has a depth to it. And if you go round that edge, rather than actually going round the edge of the piece, as in on the flat of it, if you actually go round that sharp edge, it gives this really lovely lift to whatever you are creating and just makes it look really yummy. These remind me of when I was a kid. My nan used to have a deck of cards that we used to play whist with or go fish with, and they were these really old red cards with a gold edge around the outside. So maybe I've been called to inspire you to create something that I was inspired by in my childhood. Anyhow, that's how you make these deck of cards. I hope you're going to have a go at making some, because as of next week, I'm going to be putting up a few more videos showing just how I use mine. And I hope that you're going to join me. All right. I'll see you really soon. Bye.